If you hear a really loud rumbling noise, it's because my husband started the dishwasher. Hey guys, welcome to Let Me Tell Ya. Last episode of Let Me Tell Ya was like very much more sad than some of mine have been. It was more of like my first, I would say, real breakup that I ever went through, so it was a little more sad than some of my other ones. So I decided, why not split some of that up a little bit, because I have more serious ones to come with a silly one. And this one will be a lot of making fun of myself for being a complete idiot. Also, guys being mean. I mean, like, let's be real. Guys can be mean sometimes, so that definitely is included in this. But definitely also a little bit of me being very ridiculous. This all takes place in 9th grade. So technically, actually, all of this takes place before I dated TJ. So technically, this could have been last episode, but I thought this would be a good breakup between TJ and my next one. So that's why I'm doing it now. I am going to tell you about 3 different boys from 9th grade, 2 of which were complete failures and one that was a boy I actually dated, but let's just go ahead and get right to it. Thank you for joining Let Me Tell Ya. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the tempting red button before you leave, and thumbs up. I can be so weird sometimes. You'll get used to it. That's fine. So the very first guy, I remember, so I was a TA in this class in 9th grade. When I was in 9th grade, it was a class of 8th graders, and I was the TA, which means teacher's assistant for any of you who might not know that. It's where you like help grade and you help with like any tasks the teacher wants you to do. And I remembered wanting to be the teacher's assistant because it seemed like when I was in 7th and 8th grade, I remember thinking the teacher's assistants were always so cool and everybody always loved them. So I was the TA in this class, thinking that it meant that I would be looked up to and I would be like the cool kid, because I was like the cool older 9th grader in this class full of 8th graders. But just to give you some backstory on that, and I remember there was a couple girls in there who were on the dance team I was on, and I was one of the captains on the dance team. So I just felt like that mixed with this would just like, I was just one of those people. I wanted to be cool. It's who I was, it's how I was. I wanted to be liked, I wanted to be cool. A lot of people go through that, right? Right? I'm not the only one, right? Right? So I was in this class and instantly I noticed this boy. I'm talking like Ashton Kutcher hair, like kind of Zac Efron-esque, like High School Musical days Zac Efron, suave and charismatic and super hot. I wanted him to be my boyfriend. I figured maybe he looks up to me. I am the older girl. I'm the person who is grading. I am the TA. Maybe he'll be interested in me. And I thought we had been flirting a little bit. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, like, I don't remember much from that. We would have to meet outside the classroom door and wait for the teacher to come, like, to let us in. I would always like hope he would talk to me, and we would talk sometimes. And I was just like obsessed. And one day after school, he walked me to my bus, and that was a big deal. What was a big deal? He walked me to my bus. So we were walking to my bus, and we started chatting, and it turned out like his bus went really close to where my bus went. It turned out we like lived really close to each other, and I remember him being like, that road? I live really close to that road. And me being like, oh my gosh, we live so close to each other. And it was just like this moment. So I got on the bus after he dropped me off, and I just remember I was on cloud 9. I couldn't believe he walked me to my bus and talked to me the whole way. It was just like I was definitely 15. Put it that way. I remember I sat by this friend on my bus, and the window was foggy or something like that. I don't remember all the details, but I like traced with my finger. This is so embarrassing. Why am I exposing this to the world? Like, why? Like, why? Why? I drew a picture of the path that him and I walked together from the portable to the bus, and told her all about our conversation. I am the most embarrassing human being on the planet. But I think it's really normal. I think Here's what's weird. I'm having this realization right now that I don't know if it is. Whatever, it was me. I was a weirdo, okay? Somebody married me, so I did something right. The next day, I believe, when we had that class, I gave him a note that just asked if he wanted to be my boyfriend. And I was like pretty convinced that, it would happen. Oh, by the way, I haven't even told you what I'm calling him. I'm calling him Zach, because he really does remind me of Zac Efron. But I just now was thinking like I should call him Dean, and that's because he reminds me of Jared Padalecki, who played Dean on Gilmore Girls. He was so like him. We're calling him Dean. Screw Zach. We're calling him Dean. So Dean, I'd given him that note, and then I saw him after school, and I remember him saying my name. I think that's how it went. Like, he called to me as I was walking by, and he was like, Ellie. And I turned, and remember, I asked him out in this note. So I turned, and I looked at him, and he was like, yeah. Just, yeah. You guys. There's no words. I was so excited. I don't even remember. I think I blacked out. I literally don't even remember the next day. I don't remember how things went that night or anything. I think I literally blacked out. I don't remember. But I did go to school the next day thinking I had a boyfriend, right? Because he said yes. I remember waiting that morning outside to see if he would eventually walk by, because the front of the school, I mean, everybody has to walk by there eventually. It wasn't that large, so I figured I would see him walk by eventually. And I remember not seeing him at all. And I was thinking, like, well, he'd probably at least try to find me, right? Because we're like going out now. We're like boyfriend and girlfriend now. But he didn't show up. That day goes on, and I was talking to this girl later that day who knew him. She was really close friends with him. And she told me that he had talked to her, because he knew that she knew me, and told her that he didn't mean to say yes. He only said it because he felt sorry for me, and he did not want to be my boyfriend. Literally, he avoided me all day, didn't have the cojones to tell me that, and told this girl at our school that he only said yes because he felt sorry for me. I do not know that song as well as I thought I did. Basically, I remember being really upset, and I was in choir that day, and that girl who told me about everything was in choir with me, and she was like, I'm so sorry. And she told the teacher, like, can you give her a break today? She went through a really bad breakup. And I'm like, oh my god. It wasn't even a bad breakup. He was just an asshole. Like, let's be real right now. I mean, have some balls. Pardon my French. So yeah, this guy just like broke my heart. It was the very beginning of the year, and he just does this to me. He just does this to me. And I'm thinking, it's the beginning of the school year, so can you please just wake me up when September ends? Yeah, pretty much how it felt. So anyways, I decided I needed to move on, right? And what better way to move on? I was just playing with a makeup brush, because why not? It's right in front of me. So I decided to move on with none other than a boy in that class. Of course. So his name, I'm calling him Ted. So him and I were flirting quite a bit. Again, kind of like outside the classroom at the beginning of class. I remember always looking forward to it. I always had that. Like when I had a crush on a boy, I remember it being like the most exciting thing ever possible, ever. Every time I got to see them. I've always been like that. I've always thrown my passion into my crushes like that. Like just all that I had. Like a lot of these guys really missed out on this passion that this girl has right here. My husband is a very lucky man, if I do be so modest myself. Gosh. Like you mix like a very naturally passionate person with a teen. It's not very pretty. So anyways, I was very throwing myself into this, right? Like I really had a crush on this guy, and I really don't even know why. I didn't know anything about him, to be really honest with you. I remember that there was a dance coming up, and I didn't ask him to the dance. I should have asked him to the dance, but I do think I asked him to save me a dance. I think part of me hoped that he would turn around and be like, I'll raise you one when you go to the dance with me. He didn't though. Yeah, so this dance. I remember it so incredibly clearly, it's kind of crazy. I remember that I was going with my friend Tiffany. and I'm gonna call her Tiffany, that's fine, that's her real name. And I remember her and I, we had to like all gather in the gym before the dance, and then they like ushered us like cows out to the cafeteria where the actual dance was. And Tiffany and I were together, waiting for the dance to start, and then they started playing a song, and I don't know why it sticks in my memory so much, but it does. And this is what was playing as I walked towards my very first dance that I was allowed to go to ever. Yeah, I think that's Rihanna's first single. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure that was her first single. And that was like 10 years ago. Oh my gosh, that was like 12 years ago. 12 years ago. Okay, yeah, so I was 14, 12 years ago. But, this was like literally, there is honestly a good chance this was 12 years ago today. There's a good chance of that. So anywho, I remember like dancing and walking along that hallway with my friend Tiffany. We might have even been like linking arms or something, and I was going to the dance with her, and I remember she was younger than me, but I remember thinking she was just so cool. And sorry, I'm getting a little emotional right now, and we can get to the story in a second. And I'm sorry to take a like really depressing break, but Tiffany passed away, so when I think about her, it hurts sometimes still a little bit, because she passed away without me knowing about it, and some of her friends who were in her grade didn't realize that she was such good friends with me, and didn't tell me, so I didn't find out for actually a couple years until a couple of years after she died. So because she moved out of state, and she died in a car accident. So let's just get back to the story. Thank you guys for giving me that moment. Rest in peace, Tiffany. I love you. Tiffany and I were at the dance, and I remember like thinking she was so cool. Like, this girl was like so sure of herself, you know, and I thought it was so cool. So I remember like dancing, and she told me that I was a good dancer, and that was just like everything. And I will never forget that. Like, that made me feel so good about myself, because this girl I thought was awesome. And I know like needing validation from someone else about yourself shouldn't be necessary, but I don't know. I just liked it, okay? Anyways, that has nothing to do with the story. He saved me a dance, just like he promised, and we danced together. And I don't remember what the song was, like I did with Lucas, the quarterback. And I remember it being so intense. Like, literally for an entire, 3-minute song, we had our eyes locked on each other. I was probably like, and he just like had this like kind of squinty look. I mean, he didn't have falsies on, although now that I think about it, he would probably make a really good drag queen. But he was like squinting, kind of like looking down at me like this, because he was taller than me, and just staring at me the whole time. And it was like so intense. I remember thinking like, whoa, what is this? That night I stayed at the school overnight, and that was only because my dance team did. We all like stayed overnight. We watched like Remember the Titans and that cheerleading movie from Disney Channel, which, why am I blanking? Does anybody know what I'm talking about? I'll figure it out. Anyways, so we like, we're hanging out at the school, but I remember just like, I could not get him off my mind. I remember thinking like, I really thought he was gonna kiss me while we were dancing, so I kept thinking about that all night long. And we stayed the night in the gym and sleeping bags, and I remember just thinking about it. Did you ever in your life, now or in the past or whatever, have a time where you couldn't stop thinking about someone kissing you or something like that, and you lick your lips so much that you literally make them like burned, like chapped, to the point where they're like burning? I went to school whenever the next week, and we had that class where I decided to do something that I regret a lot. And that was write him a little note. For any of you who've been watching, let me tell ya, you know that there's this one particular phrase that I've been saying to boys in the past up to this point a lot. And looking back now, I just feel like it's ridiculous. If you know what it is, say it with me. Don't break my heart. So I give him the note when he's standing outside of class the next day. I remember very distinctly like my heart pounding and feeling so nervous and so excited to give him this note, thinking this is gonna happen, right? And I was wondering what he was gonna do when he saw me. And he wasn't like super attentive to me, to be honest with you, but I was still like, hey, yo, Ted, You're mine now. And I remember very distinctly handing it to him. I was like, here you go, Ted. And he was like, ooh. Like, I remember very distinctly in my head. It was like, ooh. We go to class, and again, I think I blocked everything out. I have no idea what happened that day. None. Well, let me tell you something. Literally, never talk to me again. I promise you. Not even a word. I promise. He never talked to me again. I saw him at school. We went to junior high and high school together. Never talked to me again. I worked at a grocery store, and he came in there a few times with family or by himself even. Never. Walked right past me. Didn't even make eye contact. Never talked to me again. I still am a little baffled by that to this day. Like, I don't give a crap because a little bit F you, but what? Moving on, because I feel like I'm taking forever to tell you all of this story. So I decided to move on, and I found this other guy that I liked. Also in the same class. This is where I started to get really embarrassed. This was so different though, because Dean was like super preppy. Ted was kind of like that too. This next guy, who I'm calling Andy, was like a rocker. I'm talking long, dark hair, rocker shirts, dark pants with the zippers, and I'm the whole bit. And to this day, I'm like, what the heck was I? What? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just so different from my typical type. I mean, you know, the jock, the preppies, and the nerds. That's usually what I would go for. So this was so different for me. But him and I started flirting, and that was real flirting. Like, we would make eyes across the room at each other a lot. And I don't remember how we became boyfriend and girlfriend. Like, he was the first guy I ever like made out with. You know, like actual making out. And it was for like 2 seconds, and it was honestly horrible. And if you ever see this, Andy, because you probably know who you are, I'm really sorry, but it was really bad. I really did like him. He was a very sweet guy. He was really nice, he was really sweet, and he would like always say like really sweet things to me, and he always like liked to like nuzzling me and putting his arm around. He was a very sweet guy. But over time I actually started to like TJ. Like, I'm not saying like I left him for TJ, but it was like kind of simultaneously happening where I started liking TJ and started to stop liking Andy at the same time. And I felt bad because Andy was really honestly a very sweet person. I just started losing interest, and so I broke up with him, and we didn't really talk much after we broke up for quite a few years. And then I remember seeing him again. He actually lived very close to me. I know I say that all the time about a lot of these guys, and I know it's kind of strange. Like, how do all of these guys that I like live so close to me? But they did. They all lived really close to me. What had happened is I think we were on the bus together one day or something, and talking and flirting a little bit again. And I was thinking, like, maybe we'll like start something up again. Like, he's really sweet and he's really cute, and maybe. I remember walking through his neighborhood. I'm such a creeper, hoping I would run into him. It wasn't like I was actively searching for him necessarily. I never ran into him though. Actually, I definitely saw him at the grocery store I worked at, but the other person I saw at the grocery store was his girlfriend later. This was years later, and I'm talking like I think maybe even after high school. This girl came through my line once. I was a bagger. I swear to you, like, I don't even remember if there was much words before this. I honestly don't think there was many words between us before this moment. And then she just went, "I'm Andy's girlfriend." I'm like, oh, cool. Good for you. It felt very much like she was a dog that just lifted his leg and let it loose. Like, that's exactly what it felt like. And I was like, good for you. So you guys, that's actually it for all of the people that I wanted to tell you about this time. Some more silly, kind of like more like out there stories, some very embarrassing ones that were very vulnerable for me to tell you. But please let me know in the comments down below if you can relate to any of these stories. I feel a little right now as I say those out loud like I'm like the weirdest person in the world. It's just how I was, and like I said, I'm a very passionate person, when you mix passion and teenage hormones, it's just not a good recipe. So anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me tell you, I can't believe how many episodes there have already been of this, and I still am like only halfway through. So if you guys are enjoying Let Me Tell You, please give me a thumbs up. I'm gonna keep doing it anyway, but I would love to know that you like it. And also please hit the tempting red button right there down below my video, and I will see you later. Anyways, let's keep going. So look, I've already been talking for 20 minutes. Aha. I was definitely 15. 15? Or was I 14? What am I calling him? What am I calling him? I have to close my eyelash quick. So I decided to move on with none other than Ted. Just like he promised, he saved